And that's the signal that we are live. Welcome to the show this week. Well, Marty is standing by for us there in sunny Glenara. I'm Justin McCartney here in Carrickfergus, and we're ready for another fantastic week. Marty, what's it all about this week then?
Well, Justin, we have we do our news segment that we've started doing every week, and then we are interviewing a guy who teaches people whiskey. He's a whiskey academic, if you will. When we're doing the introduction to him, I read out his list of credentials, and you'll not fail to be impressed by this guy. I'm really looking forward to talking to him.
Could he teach me, or is that an impossibility?
That's probably a bit beyond him. So what did you got today, Justin?
Very little. I went for a 5-mile walk. I was surprised last night when I was out that there was more people down the harbour in Carrickfergus on a winter's evening than there has been in about 30 years in the summer, because I think everybody's going stir crazy here. It's pretty far out stuff. Pretty far out.
I was up at the Macramorn Estate again today, and there was loads of people. They were just doing a wee walk up at it, and the amount of people that were there was unbelievable, really, you know.
Right, fantastic. So listen, we've got a packed show tonight. We've got Vic Cameron on it. I've let the cat out of the bag if you haven't already, and we also have the people from River Rock on as well.
We do, Justin. That's part of the news, and yeah, an interesting story. I like that we were talking to a guy during the week, and so we have a packed show tonight.
What's first then?
Well, as always now, Justin, we're going to do the news. Okay.
I love this bit. I
do. So, on the back of Belfast Whisky Week, which happened back in August, there is the announcement that they're going to have a Belfast Festive Whisky Week. So, from the 24th of December to the 1st of January, there will be various boxes available. So it's being run, again, in conjunction with the Friend at Hand in Belfast by Paul O'Kane. And there are various boxes to be had from, for example, box number 1, which costs £180, and it's the Irish cask strength. So you get 9 miniatures of cask strength bottles. So in it is the brand new Bush 1995, which you and I both sampled. The Bush 2005, which we sampled. The Redbreast 12-year-old cask strength, batch 1 B1/12. Redbreast 30-year-old cask strength. Dunville's 20-year-old cask strength. Blue Spot, more on that during the week probably. A cask strength Middleton. A Killowen oatmeal stout, cask strength obviously, from our friends down at Killowen. And the Connemara Turfmoor, all cask strength. Now, there's one which is a really special box. It's the Old and Rare Scots and Irish. That has a Teeling 30-year-old. No, don't be putting that one up.
All right.
No, that's not him. Teeling 30-year-old. We then have the Bushmills 1995 cask strength. The Method and Madness Single Pot Still 28-year-old cask strength. Redbreast 30-year-old cask strength. Greensplot 26-year-old cask strength. Bowmore 26-year-old. Glendronach 26 cask strength. Springbank 17-year-old from 1975, and Long 43-year-old from 1968 cask strength.
These old ones seem to be flavour of the month this while back.
Well, this is probably the only chance that anyone will get to taste these for a reasonable amount of money. What I mean by that is this box is a few £100, but to try and buy these bottles, I mean, they're just prohibitively expensive. I mean, they're going to be big money. So really, for some of these, this is really the only chance that you will get to purchase these. Now, to find out details about it, you can go to the Belfast Whisky Week Facebook page, and the details are in below that. We'll try and maybe get a catch up with Paul at some point during the week, or maybe next week you can get them brought in. But something to look forward to. And if anyone's wanting Christmas gifts, there's a good idea for you.
Yeah, so that's a fabulous idea for a Christmas gift. Definitely is. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a good idea, and we wish them all the success in the world as usual.
Now, what's next then?
Next is Proper 12 and Mr. Conor McGregor. Yeah. Now, most people will know I'm not a huge fan of this.
I love him. I love him. I love him. Don't hit me. Don't hit me. I love him.
don't hit me. Right. But this week, Conor McGregor and Proper 12 donated another $100,000 to the Tunnel for Towers Foundation. Okay. Proper 12, every time there's a case of Proper 12 sold, $5 goes to charity. And up to £1 million, up to $1 million every year. So this week, the total has reached $1.2 million that's been donated. Now, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation honours the sacrifice of firefighter Stephen Siller, who laid down his life to save others on September 11th, 2001. It's a first responder charity, so basically for the emergency frontline people, so ambulance workers, fire brigade, that kind of thing. This payment goes to their COVID-19 Heroes Fund. Now, I've said that I'm not a fan of this, I'm not a fan of that, but credit where it's due. The fact that $1.2 million has been donated to this charity. There's other stuff that goes along. If anyone wants to go and check it out, it's Tunnel to Towers. They have a Facebook page, they have a website, etc., etc. So, round of applause. Well done, Mr. McGregor. You know.
Yeah, that's good. That is good.
Now, you and I both being tour guides, Justin.
What's a tour guide? What's a tourist? What's a tourist?
Do you remember way back when people used to go different places and see around them? Well, down in County Kerry, the Portmagee Whisky Distillery, micro distillery, has begun construction of their distillery and visitor experience on Barrack Hill. Now, the design company Catapult have come in on this, and Catapult are responsible for such attractions as Teato Park, which, if anybody doesn't know what that is, that's like an Irish theme park based around packets of crisps.
Yeah, but the biggest wooden roller coaster, I think, in Europe, or maybe the world it is. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, but they've also done Sea Life in London, Legoland, and they say, they claim that they put 50 million visitors through 81 theme parks that they have designed. Now, they're working with the Portmagee Distillery down in County Kerry, as I said. The development will comprise of geodomes, and one of them will have a cinema dome to tell the story of traditional boats and smuggling, including the story of the 18th century pirate Theobald McGee. That's where the village gets its name, Portmagee.
Mm-hmm.
Now, around the centre, they're going to plant 5,000 native Irish trees as well. So John Murphy of Portmagee Whisky Distillery Director says doing things right from the start was very important to us in planning. This sustainability and environmental considerations have been at the heart of every decision made. Solar generated energy, collect and reuse rainwater, energy efficient systems. 550 oak trees will be planted in the grounds to offset the casks that they're going to be filling. It's been supported by Fulch Ireland. Now, Catapult Chief Creative Officer Phil Higgins says, we're really excited to have started work on this new attraction for Portmagee. The combination of the high-tech experience and fascinating stories that we are building into the narrative will make this a must-visit destination. I think this is quite exciting.
Certainly is. I mean, because there's guides being laid off at some distilleries and other distilleries sort of relocating, and we're always worried about this, but this is very positive for the future.
It is. And the fact that Portmagee are a micro distillery, they're not going to be pumping out, millions of gallons every year. what they're going to be doing is focusing on the visitor attraction, possibly a little bit more than maybe the massive whiskey production. Obviously, they're going to want to be making really good whiskey, but it's that nice combination. And bringing in, a big player to do that is really going to be something else, I'm really quite excited about that, if I'm honest.
Good. Now, time's pushing on. We've two guests this week. What's next then?
Well, we have the Hinch Distillery. And they just skip on a few slides. That's the Port McGee thing. That's still Port McGee.
Yeah, that's the Hinch one. There we go.
This week, the Hinch Distillery christened their stills. So this is Mr. Terry Cross, who's the founder, and the head distiller is Aaron Flaherty, who formerly worked up in Bushmills. So this week saw their distillery get their first 210 casks from Maker's Mark. So this is a £15 million development just down outside Balnahinch.
It's impressive. We've been past it.
I was in round it in January, February time with the guy Andrew O'Neill. Just to see him round it, and it's a big operation.
I think I see the next guy in the picture. Is that him there? No, that's some other fella.
Or the distiller. So £15 million development is going to have a coffee shop, a public restaurant, a pub, a shop. They'll be doing their own bottling line. They'll have their own storage, their offices, and they can accommodate 100,000 visitors a year. So again, more good news.
Superb.
Yeah. Now, we'll go on to our last story, which is the River Rock story. So, River Rock. And this is three former directors of Edrington, which, if anyone doesn't know who Edrington are, well, it's named in the wee interview, they've set up their own single malt whiskey, as you can see, River Rock. So Laura Anderson, Bill Farrar, and Mark Geary, who we talked to, have launched a whiskey to leave as little environmental impact as possible. So we did a little interview with Mark during the week. So if you want to load that on, my friend.
We will do. Here we go. Yes, he was quite interesting. He is very, very, very good at what he does, and it's fantastic to have a chance to talk. Marty, who on earth is this guy? Everything that's been done in whiskey's already been done. What on earth is this guy trying to do?
Justin, the world of whiskey is infinite and eternal. It lasts forever. The product lasts forever. But here's a man who has decided to use stuff that maybe doesn't last forever. He's trying to move away from this, the plastic and the waste. And the way we always try and highlight some of the environmental stuff that's going on. Well, this guy and his two partners have left one of the biggest whiskey firms in the world to really set up by themselves. And Mark, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Nice to be here. Well, I think to answer your question, I think someone once said, back in the 1800s, everything had already been invented.
Yep.
And we're here just to prove that, we're not completely reinventing whiskey, because we absolutely love whiskey. We've worked in whiskey for ages. But you know what? Things change.
Yes.
And the world changes, and there's an opportunity to do things in a slightly different way. And we think more sustainably is one of the key things. And It doesn't get away from you need a brilliant whiskey inside the bottle. But let's just think a bit more broadly about our impact on the world. And then we can enjoy our drink even more, is the idea.
Yeah.
So shall I tell you what we're doing a wee bit different to other people?
Please do.
Right. Best way of demonstrating, I don't know if you can see this, is here you go. Here's two bottles. Now, no labels, no whiskey in, apologies, but it shows you some of the difference, right? So what we do is we have a rule that we want it to have as minimal impact as possible on the great outdoors that we love while still having a great whiskey. So what most people do is they say, well, we're only going to take one colour of glass. And that means they've got to control it, they've got to get the glass that right colour, and they've got to really use all that glass. What we say is actually, you see when you're changing from a green to a clear bottle, we'll take that glass you normally don't use, and we can't control it, but instead of being thrown away, we'll use it. So you might get a bottle of our whiskey in this colour, in this colour, in this colour, but it'll always be the same great whiskey. I'm juggling bottles here. There it is, inside the bottle, so you can enjoy it. But you're also doing slightly less damage and using less energy in the environment. And again, just little things like we don't use plastic. We use completely biodegradable viscose on the heat shrink thing. Just little things like that. We don't use lots of fancy foils and lots of coloured printing. We keep it nice and simple. And again, it just means that whilst you're drinking a great whiskey, you're having a slightly less impact on the world. And for every bottle that people buy and enjoy, we'll plant a tree up on Schiehallion, which is, again, those who know Scotland, it's a pretty famous Munro up in Scotland. And what they're doing through the John Muir Trust is just putting some of the native trees back round there to recreate the habitat for the creatures which we'd naturally have up in Scotland. So sorry, a bit of a long explanation, but that's what the essence of what we're trying to do.
Is this to appeal to the American market in California?
Well, hopefully, because there's lots of them. But no, it's to appeal to. To be honest, we set out. We said we're setting up a new company. Let's do it the way we want and with the things we believe in. So, absolutely, the most important thing is a great whiskey inside the bottle. But let's just think slightly bigger than that, because everyone else, if you want a standard whiskey, there's already tons of great whiskies doing that. So why not do something different? And there's lots of people in Scotland, in England, in Ireland, and in America who, just have a little bit of consideration for these things when they're choosing a brand. And equally, that brand are just a little bit different to the ones that their parents or grandparents are drinking.
I personally think the environmental problems of the world can really only be fixed by companies. No matter what governments say, the actual practicalities has to be done by business. And the more this is highlighted that people are doing this kind of thing, doing it responsibly, putting something back. I mean, for every tree that's planted, well over a ton of CO2 sucked in by a tree. You're making the place more beautiful. You're cleaning the environment. What's not to like?
Well, yeah, I'm with you, Marty. I mean, at the end, this is exactly what we're trying to do. Without getting very lofty and worthy, we want to hand it on to future generations in a better shape than we've got it now. So. And I'm with you, it's incumbent on all of us to see what we can do. So if we're setting up a business, we want to make sure we make that contribution. And we look at three things. The materials we use, are they as sustainable as we can make them? And we're not 100% there, but we're always trying to get better. Second,
absolutely.
Can we make it easy for people to recycle? And ideally, reuse the stuff that they've got. We're working on that. And third, can we make a positive contribution? And we're doing that for every bottle you buy, we'll plant a tree, and it's a native tree rather than just, a tax scheme, we'll put any old tree anywhere. So we're working with people who can trust, know what they're doing.
Yeah. Now, your background and your two partners, you worked for Edrington?
Yeah, I worked for Edrington. Apologies, the sun's come out in Scotland. It doesn't happen very often, so I'm back.
Vitamin D.
It's like when I started talking about the environment, the sun shone down on my face.
It's a sign. It's a sign.
Yeah, absolutely. We worked for Edrington for many years. Great company, and I got some great whiskies, and that's where we really got to learn about single malt and what we like and what we don't like. But also, there's what we're trying to do is not deny that there's some great single malts out there. It's just welcome more people in to enjoy what we think is a great spirit. And the world doesn't need, with all due respect, another whiskey exactly the same as every other whiskey. So what we're trying to do is just, without being trite, just welcome more people in and talk about stuff that is important to people and give them, we think, a great single malt. It's a bit sweeter than maybe some of the other ones, which just allows people to enter and access it more easily.
For anyone who doesn't know what Edrington is, it's Macallan, Grouse, and all this kind of stuff. So, I mean, these are big brands, and for you to make a leap into doing your own independent bottlings, I wholeheartedly concur with this. You have a philosophy, wonky.
Yeah, the whole wonky thing, partly but just the glass. This is the glass that no one else wants. It's what we call the wonky glass. It's a glass that normally goes to waste, and the glass manufacturer's thinking, what do I do with this? So we thought, you know what, love that wonkiness, love the difference. And equally, we also, I think, have heard enough people saying, well, you've got to drink whiskey like this, or you've got to drink whiskey like this. And we're saying, well, no, listen, everyone's individual. You're as individual as this bottle. If you enjoy a whiskey with some water, grand. If you prefer it having on the rocks, if it's straight, with a twist, with a... the most important thing is you enjoy a great spirit and a great drink.
Yeah.
So I reckon, I always say that if someone starts telling you how you should drink it, it shows more about their need to conform rather than does your appreciation of a great whiskey. So, we're just trying to help people enjoy a great spirit and do it in a slightly different way, which hopefully is more welcoming.
So every bottle is individual.
Aye.
Every single bottle is individual. You have limited labelling. It's very minimal. The impact. You've partnered up with some other groups, other companies.
Yeah, we have. It's a good spot. It's they're small independent companies. They're guys like us who are trying to make a brand in certain areas. It might be cycling, it might be clothing, it might be coffee. There's another company doing outdoor adventuring, and we kind of describe it, and it sounds a bit dry, but it's good people doing good things. Back to the point, Marty. We've got to get the idea of sustainability and just a kind of broader social responsibility at the heart of businesses, and these are companies who do that, and we're working with them. We took them, we got together, we know some of them from the past, and we got together and went out and did a bit of co-steering and went back to the beach, had a tasting. It was a kind of first official tasting of River Rock, sitting around on the beach after doing, and again, it was just kind of sharing stories with friends in a great setting, enjoying a great whiskey. And it's that kind of common values. You're working with people because you want to work, and actually the people who they talk to might like to talk to us or might like to talk to somebody else in that little group because we're all sharing those same values.
How many Monroes have you got left to do? Because that's where you're heading this weekend. That's why you can't join us. That's what I want to know.
No, lots. We're taking I'm not really want to tick them all off. I like going out in the hills and love enjoying the outdoors, but I've three youngish lads who have got far too much energy for me, so dragging them up a hill early on a Saturday morning hopefully keeps them quiet for Saturday afternoon. So we're up to Ben Vorlich, which is just on the side of Loch Earn, and staying overnight up there in a tent on Friday night, and then up on the hill on Saturday, and back home for some warmth on Saturday night.
Sounds fantastic. Marty, have you interrogated Mark enough about this?
I think so. I just have to warn, at least in November, the midges will be back a bit. You'll not get ate by midges, maybe not as much anyway.
No, they'll be far too cold and frozen, a bit like we probably will be on the hill. So.
Well, Mark, enjoy the sunshine and keep up the good work, and hopefully we'll catch up.
Good to chat, guys. Thanks very much. Catch you later.
No, there you go, Marty. What was that like? A lot of positive comments coming from as far afield as America there. Fantastic idea, River Rock, it says there.
Absolutely. I keep saying this, Justin, to fix the environmental problems of the world, it's only business can do this. Governments can do stuff, but whenever businesses do this kind of program, this kind of project, that's how the environmental problems will be solved. Now, Justin, what do we have? We have a competition, Justin.
Do we?
Yes, because after we come off, Mark said he's going to send out 20 samples to people who watch the show. So what we'll do is we will run another little competition, and we'll get addresses, names and addresses, and we'll send out the samples. Because he stands by the whiskey, he stands by the message, and we'll do a live tasting some evening, and that'll be that.
Excellent stuff. Now we have another whiskey guru waiting in the wings. He's about to join us live now. Here he is. You can hear us loud and clear, can you, Vic? Good that you can hear us now. Tell me this. Marty hasn't read what you've told me, have you? Did you read what he messaged there? Did you, Marty? No?
No, Justin, I don't have this capacity. Yeah,
you maybe do. So I mean, listen, this is big news. Vic, you are actually going to Hinch next week to help commissioning.
Yes, I'm. One of my colleagues on the team from Scotland is over at the moment, helping out with the mashing, milling, fermentation, and hopefully I'm going to read the Scottish Government regulations about travelling. So hopefully I might be in Northern Ireland week commencing the 16th.
Excellent.
And looking at the stills, cut points and quality coming off, and doing some sensory analysis on the new make Spirit. So I'm really excited. I've got a wee bottle of Hinch here on my shelf. So
I have a big bottle. And in your honour, I'm going to have one. I think I'll have one.
Good. I haven't cracked mine open yet. But yeah, it's great. I had the chance to work with Aaron when he worked for Diageo as well. So I got to know Aaron really well. And then when Aaron became head distiller, he was looking for some help. And he got a couple of us old guys that he worked with in Scotland to come and give him a hand. So I'm really excited about that. Really looking forward to it. Been involved in some of the project meetings in the run up to this, and been on site just the once. But looking forward to getting back on site again and doing some distilling.
Brilliant. Yeah. Now, I'm going to read an introduction to Vic. Just, I hope he doesn't mind. I got some of this off his LinkedIn page, and some of it I know myself. So, Vic has well over 20 years in the whisky industry. He has been a malting operations manager, a distilling operations manager. He's managed the lab for quality analysis in distilling and malting. He has represented Diageo. Now, just to give you an idea, Diageo is Johnny Walker, Black and White, Kalila, Talisker, Lagavulin, Dalwhinnie, Glenelgan, blah, 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 I can go on. So he's represented Diageo on various forums, including the Institute of Brewing and Distilling. He's a lecturer at the Edinburgh Whisky Academy. He's a technical admin for the UK Grain Testing Network. He owns VC Services, which provides expert advice, training and consultancy to the barley, malting and distilling industry in the UK, Europe and the Far East. He's working on a project to bring a mothballed distillery back to life. We'll find out more about that later, hopefully. He's also a pastor in the Moray Grace Fellowship.
That's right.
And how I was first introduced to him is he lectures at the University of Highlands and Islands, and there's his signature. He's the lecturer.
Oh, so it is. That's my signature.
Yeah.
Oh, can I write a check then? Can I write a check? Can I copy that and write a check? No?
I haven't put my finger over it. No. So this is my course, and I did the course in the university, the whisky course from the UHI, and Vic was the lecturer and could not have been more helpful or nicer. He wrote a lovely email at the end of it. I said that there was a few things that I didn't really know that much about, and he sent me basically emailed me a couple of books, and I thank you very much. I much appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. I can't remember that, Marty, but that's great.
It's a few years ago.
That makes me sound so good. I would employ me.
Yeah, I would employ you. So well done, the Hinch team for hooking up with you. So it's fabulous to have you on the show. I'm really pleased. So first question I have to ask: what does a man like yourself drink of an evening? When you sit down and decide to have a dram of something, what's your go-to?
Oh, I mean, that's really difficult, Marty. If you look behind me, you can see I've got quite a few bottles and quite a few samples. So I do have some favourites. I like my local distilleries around about my house. So I'm a great Ben Romick fan.
Okay.
A great Glenmurray fan.
Yep.
Tamdhu is starting to become a real favourite of mine. But I like Talisker. I like Kalila. I have to say I'm pretty biased towards Scotch. But I have some Japanese.
We're having trouble with the transmission tonight now. We aren't really, but I'm just saying that.
Because I'm going to be talking Scotch, Justin.
No, I listen, Marty knows if it's alcohol, I like it.
Pretty as look. Justin's a big cocktail fan. If it's sparklers and a bit of Del Boy about it, Justin's
well, each to their own. As long as you drink Scotch, but probably you'll be drinking Irish. But I have an uncle-in-law, as it were, from Ireland, from Cork, and he's a great man for his whiskey, but he loves to remind me every time I see him that the first recorded distillation of whiskey was in Ireland.
Yes.
And not in Scotland. A good 40, 50 years.
Easy.
Documented evidence. So he loves to tell me that. But I always counter him and say, we can make it right after 2 distillations. We don't normally need 3.
Well,
which is not always the case now. But no, so I've been forced to drink a few Irish whiskies sometimes, guys, when I go and visit my uncle. Green Spot is his tipple. So that's really quite nice.
Yeah.
And obviously, I'm going to be saying Hinch will be a good whiskey once I start distilling it. So, yeah, it's normally Scotch Marty. I do like a bit of peat, sometimes Khalil or Talisker. But if I like peat, I like to go to the islands. If I'm wanting a mainland, generally non-peated. But Tam Dhu is rapidly becoming one of my favourite drams at the moment. So that's what I'm drinking just now. I'm trying to finish my Tam Dhu 10 so I can move on to my Tam Dhu 12 that I just bought. So that's what I'm enjoying tonight.
Good.
But lots of different stuff. Yeah.
Well, this is the joy of it. There's so much range. I always say to people, you'll always get the people, oh, I can't drink whiskey, I can't drink whiskey. Yeah. There's such a range. There's everything from basically something really, really light, like a Glenmorangie or something like that, to all the way through to your Lefroy. So there's such a range of flavours and tastes and how people interact with them. But the new Irish distilleries coming along, a lot of them, I know for a fact, a lot of them are double distilling as well. So this regionality is probably even more going to get blurred over the next while, I think. Certainly.
Yeah. Well, it's a bit like in Scotland. We still talk about the regions.
Yeah.
But really, there's not really something that makes a Highland distinct from a Speyside distinct from a Lowland anymore.
Yeah.
And the old sort of tradition, Scotch double distilled, Irish triple distilled, is moving away as well. I mean, we have people in Scotland doing triple distillation. Ben Romack's a great example. They've got a great expression out, triple distilled. And yes, I know there are Irish distillers doing double. So that kind of differentiation is moving away. But no, there's lots of people all across the world making great whiskey.
There are.
And one of the things I think our industry needs to get away with is this snobbery about Scotch. And appreciate that there's lots of other people making really good whiskey, and we need to stay at the top of our game to keep Scotch as one of the go-tos.
Are you talking about the English, Vic? Are you talking about the English there? Are you?
No, I've got to make an exception there, Justin. I mean, that should be against the law, shouldn't it?
Stick to gin.
No. To be honest, I've tasted something from the Cotswold, tasted something from the Yorkshire, and these guys are making good whiskey as well. So, yeah, I think it all helps the industry if there's lots and lots of different. One of my favourite whiskies at the moment is one of the Macmiras from Sweden.
I have a couple of those, and they are good. They are good.
There's lots of people making good, and one of my favourites at the moment is Star Wars Solera from Melbourne in Australia. So.
I've seen this. I've never actually got my hands on a bottle of it. Personally, I think in some ways the Scotch sort of parameters for what they can make is really in some ways going to be a bit restrictive for them, because you have really the Wild West in England and certainly in the US, where, I mean, at the minute, I think there's about 1,600 whiskey distilleries now opened in the US, and they're not really confined to the limit that Scotch is defined to. So I think Scotland needs to just keep
Yeah, absolutely. It needs to keep making that top quality spirit, using top quality wood. And yes, there are people in our industry in Scotland who kind of think the Scotch whisky regulations are a bit constrictive and hampering innovation. There's a few, your brew dogs and people like that. I'm a great fan of the Scotch whisky regulation. I think it's kind of helped keep our industry alive, keep it at the top of the game, keep a lot of jobs in Scotland, with the regulations that single malt's got to be bottled here now and things like that. So it's kept our industry to have some of its unique selling points, which I think we should keep.
Yeah.
And I think there's plenty that we can do with different types of production, maybe new yeasts. There's work to be done there. And the way we distill, and of course, the wood that we use can help us to be. Well, you just see how many different expressions there are out there now. Thousands of them from 130 distilleries. There's so much we can do, but some people don't like the constriction of the Scotch whisky regulations. I'm a fan.
Yeah. It's interesting you said yeasts there, because I think some people might not just appreciate this, that pretty much all distilling's done with brewer's yeasts. Now, what difference do you think using different yeasts brings into it?
Well, for the vast majority of the industry at the moment, we're using yeast from 3 suppliers. And it's pure culture, distiller's yeast, being bred for that.
Yeah.
As far as I'm aware now, there's only one distillery in Scotland that throws in a little bit of brewer's yeast, and that's Ben Romach. But I could be wrong.
Yeah.
So the majority of the industry is using the same type of yeast, same strain and genus, Saccharomyces cerevisiae, and just different versions of that.
Yeah.
But there are people doing trials with different yeast strains, different types of yeast. I mean, Glenmorangie released one last year, I believe, with a different type of yeast that Bill Lumsden had cultured. And the yeast is important because different types of yeast has different types of metabolism going on, which will lead to different types of esters, different type of acids being released during fermentation. And that can lead to different aromas and different flavors in the wash and then in the distilled spirit and then into the final whiskey.
Yeah.
So fermentation can have a huge impact on the character of your new make spirit. And one of the biggest factors I think that we haven't really pushed the boundaries of in Scotland is on yeast variety. Some of the bourbon producers do, they want their own yeast and that's great, but it's not something that we've done in Scotland. But it's something that people are investigating, researching, and Glenmorangie have released that product. So it will come. Yeah, that work is being done.
Yeah, I think for me, fermentation's probably the most important part of all spirit production, because really everything that you get in your new make spirit happens during that. The distilling really just refines what comes out of and basically into the barrel. And for the yeasts, using different yeasts, you're going to get a totally different character to start with. And as you age it, then I think there's a lot more room to do that. And I know there's companies basically set up now just doing yeast experimentation. Now, I bought a rum this week, which I've been meaning to buy this for a long time, but Dunderhead rum, which is made using Dunder pit, which anyone who doesn't know what that is, it's basically the waste gets through into a pit, and the bacteria and wild yeasts go into it, and then it's added into the mash to then produce this really estery, fruity rum at the end. And it's a bit like a sour mash, where they take a little bit and do that, but it's kind of to the max, and it's actually quite good. I'm not a massive fan of rum I find it's a bit like bourbon. I find it a little too sweet for me. I prefer I don't have a huge sweet tooth, but all of this new experimentation and the sort of science behind all of this is really exciting. I mean,
yeah, it's interesting, but a lot of distilleries in Scotland at the moment, Marty, are actually utilising wild yeasts and bacteria in their fermentation, because they're managing their hygiene levels to not completely clean out the washbacks, and then using time. If you can ferment for 50 hours, that's you really finished. But if you ferment for much longer, you get wild yeast, you get bacteria coming in, and you get a late lactic fermentation, you get acids in there, and then the acids react with the alcohol to give you the esters, and you get fruity, floral, tropical fruit kind of things. And sweet, if you just ferment longer, that's wild yeast and that's bacteria.
Yeah.
So, people are not saying, we're using bacteria, we're using wild yeast, but it's actually part of the process at the moment if you have that long fermentation.
Yeah.
And it gives you that different wash, which you can then refine in your stills. Yeah.
Yeah. As it becomes a bit more scientific, and there's so much about the whole whiskey journey, if you like, from the all the very simple ingredients until it gets to your bottle, that's really not well understood. I think people have this idea that everything that happens is meticulously managed, or whatever, but it's not. I mean, you obviously know an awful lot more about it than myself, but one cask of whiskey sitting in one place might be 1 degree warmer or cooler than one sitting somewhere else, and they end up after a period of years having a totally different flavour.
Yeah, I mean, it's an easy process to make Scotch whiskey. You have 3 ingredients, stick it in a barrel, stick it in a warehouse, and then you have Scotch whiskey.
Yeah.
But you can run your distillery, and people try and run their distilleries consistently to get the same new make spirit character.
Yeah.
And you can run your distillery exactly the same all week, or you think it's exactly the same all week, and get a slightly different character. You can take that same new make spirit and put it into casks that you think are the same, and put it into the same warehouse, and you can get different whiskies at the end of it. I'm involved in a project at the moment where I'm sampling out of a warehouse, and you think that no, it was distilled on the same dates and the same type of cask. You get a different whiskey after 6, 8, 10 years.
Yeah.
Now we do know the science, and we're starting to learn more, but there are things in the distillery that we still just don't know what's going on there, and there's that little bit of magic. I mean, what you didn't see is I went to university. I got a degree in mathematics. I was going to be a maths teacher, so I'm kind of scientific, logical, that kind of thing, and I love that science that you can do in a distillery. But I also love taking new make spirit, putting it in a cask, and then, well, let's just wait and see what it is in 10 years. We've got kind of an idea because we know the new make spirit we're starting with. We know if we're putting it in an ex-bourbon or an ex-sherry. We know if it's European oak. We know if it's American oak. So we can kind of anticipate what kind of whiskey we're going to get at the end of it. But you can't make an exact judgment. You just got to wait and then sample it, and you know what? See what you get. Yep. So it's fascinating. Great industry to be in.
I love the sort of mix between. The way I sort of have it in my head is you have the distiller who's the scientist. Everything trying to get all the different parameters and the variation nailed down, so everything's scientific. And then the blender who's really the artist, who has to take all these different colours or shades, if you like, and try and make a product. And it's that wonderful blend between the two that makes whiskey, and it's a fabulous, fascinating. Fascinating. There's always something that you're learning all the time,
You always learn. I mean, I'm very fortunate now, and I'm running my own business, so I can do different projects that I really enjoy. And I'm involved in 2 or 3 projects at the moment, in actually taking samples out of casks. Rum actually in one project, that's been matured in whiskey casks, and taking those casks and blending different types and seeing what you can come up with. So that is so exciting, taking the final products to make an expression. And that's fascinating to do, to try and produce that final bottle from what you've got in your warehouse. But you've got to get it in your warehouse to start with. So you've got to make good spirit, put it into good casks, put it in a range of casks, and then see what you've got to play with. But you can't make an expression if you don't have it in your warehouse to start with.
Vic, are you doing that to try and see what's going to be big next in the next 5, 10, 15 years?
Sorry, Justin, say that again.
What's going to be big next? I mean, is there experimentation going on now at the minute to try and come up with something new, something innovative that hasn't been done before? Or is it being held back by the regulations? Because you sort of you're between the devil and a hard place here, it sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, there are people doing innovative things. Dare I say, younger distillers, the brew dogs and people like that. But they are constrained within the Scotch whisky regulations. But what's going to be the next big thing? Well, I'm hoping it's rum, because I'm working with one lad who's buying rum and maturing it here in Scotland in different whiskey casks. So I'm kind of hoping that's going to be the next big thing.
I like rum. I like the sound of that. You can't get McKimmons anymore.
I haven't got a great track record of predicting things, because in the Edinburgh Whisky Academy 3 years ago, I was asked a question and I stood up and I said, Diageo will never open Brora on Port Ellen again. So I've not got a great track record in that. What's the next big thing? Who can tell?
Marty, we've got some questions here. Somebody's asked, and somebody else has asked that they've read their mind. It's all the way from Canada. A guy from called Geordie Burke from Prince Edward Island has asked, has Vic ever met Richard Patterson of the Dalmore?
Oh, who hasn't met Richard Patterson? I mean, the guy's a character.
Yeah.
He's a bit of a showman, isn't he? And the first time I met him was in a warehouse up at Tamanavulin. I was taking a tour up there as part of the Speyside Whisky Festival, and we went up there, and Richard Patterson was doing a nosing and tasting in the warehouse. I was actually in the filling store. There's the man. In the filling store at Tamanavulin. So he did the whole, pouring the whiskey into the glass and then throwing the whiskey away to coat the glass, like he does. And then chewing the whiskey, what does he say, 1 second for every year old the whiskey is. I mean, come on. I mean, I'm in my 30th year in the industry, and I think I know a thing or two. This guy's been in the industry for 50 years. Now, you don't get to his stage of his career, 50 years, without getting caught out, He obviously knows his stuff.
He does.
And he's in demand as well. So, no, he's a great guy, a great showman for the industry.
I put it like this, his biography, his name's on the front of it, so I'm not sure whether I can say it's an autobiography or not, but it's actually a really, really good book. Really insightful bits and pieces about the whiskey industry, Scotch whiskey industry, obviously in particular. But just the whole journey of him first starting all the way through, and as you say, he's over 50 years experience. So
yeah, and he's very much associated with the Dalmore, and I've got a bit of history with that because my great grandfather was a stillman at Dalmore.
Okay.
So my dad's family's from up that way and just south of Alness in the Black Isle. So I had family who worked in the Dalmore distillery. So got a wee bit of history there.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's a very small world. But now, I mentioned that you were working on a mothballed distillery. Can you talk about this, or
No, I can just say it's a mothballed distillery.
And it's coming back to life.
We certainly hope so.
Good.
So more news soon, Marty.
Well, we will.
You'll be the first to know.
Yes, we'll put it like this. Put it when we do. It'll be the first item on the news. We'll put it through. But
I'll be great.
Don't worry, Marty. I've just downloaded all the files from his computer just there now. I've got it. I'm selling to the Russians.
You know what, Justin? I don't think there's anything on my computer about that, but I hope not.
No, it's not. I'm only waiting.
That's all right.
I will just say, by the way, this is the Hinch Peated. So we did a show on Irish peated whiskies a few weeks ago, Vic, and I really like peated whiskies. And the Hinch peated is very good. It's very good. Very reasonably.
I haven't tasted that yet. When I was over first time, I had a 5 and a 10. And I think it's the 5 I've got sitting here, 5-year-old double wood.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll make sure I taste the peated one the next time I'm over.
Do that. It's very good and really good value for money. It's only about £30 a bottle, which for the quality of it, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
The 5 I wasn't blown away with. The 10's much better, much better. But
yeah, no, I like good whiskey, but I like cheap whiskey even better.
Put it like this: there's that, as you said earlier on, there's that snobbery. That only expensive whiskey's good, and that's just absolute nonsense. But I think for me, Black Bush it's a blend, but it's a very high malt content, 70% malt, finished in a sherry cask for £25 a bottle. What's not to like? How can I can't see what any problem is with saying it.
You know, if you look around, you can get some fantastic whiskies. I got a 12-year-old Johnny Walker Black. It was Isla Origin, it was called, and it was £25 in Heathrow. 12-year-old, and it's a blended malt of Kalila and Lagavulin. Superb. Got some Tamdus there for £25. You know, you can. I don't know what it's like in the supermarkets with you guys over in Northern Ireland, but we can go into Asda, Tesco, and whatever, and get some really good malts for 25, 30, 35 quid.
Yeah.
And then you can go up that level a little bit more. You might see I've got quite a few Scotch Malt Whisky Society bottles there. None of them are over £50. £50 for an 8, 9, 10-year-old single cask is fantastic value. So you can get very good whiskey at a reasonable price. Just need to look out for it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I know. I say this will probably get pilloried by some people. Amazon sell whiskey, and in the UK they deliver it, and sometimes they do really, really good bargains. And I know everybody, you must shop local, and yeah, but you try to. But when you have the chance of buying a 50, 70 pound whiskey with about 35% off, you can't look a gift horse in the mouth. And
you can't really. So you can do what I've done and set up on Amazon. It'll email you when they take the price down on whiskies.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not a great advocate of that. I also buy whiskey in the local distilleries. I buy whiskey at the Scotch Malt Whisky Society. I'll buy whiskey in independent whiskey shops. But you know, if I'm gonna get good value,
yeah,
it's just go and buy it.
Absolutely. Now,
yeah.
I'm aware of time because this show goes so quick; it's unbelievable. Now, for you, what's the most important part of the whiskey making process? Is it the grain, or is it the fermentation, or the shape of the still, or you know, what do you see as being the most important what's in your bottle?
I'll answer that and say yes.
I had
it's the grain. It's the grain. It's the way you mill it, the way you malt it, the way you mill it, the way you mash it, the way you ferment it, the way you distill it, the cask you put it in. It's all going to contribute to the flavour. But for me personally, I think you need to get a cracking good new make spirit and consistent, and put it in a really good cask. And I think I'm of the opinion of over 70% of the flavour comes from the wood in Scotch whisky.
Mm-hmm.
So that is vital. But if you put in a dodgy new make spirit, you're not going to get a good whisky.
No.
So consistency in your distillery, on your new make spirit, good cask, you should get a good whisky.
Things shouldn't go too far wrong. The old saying, "You can't make a silk purse from a sow's ear," comes there. You know.
That's you've got to start with. I'm a person that thinks you don't get flavour from the water. You don't get much difference in flavour from the barley, but you need good water.
Yeah.
You need good malting barley and a decent yeast. Good operators with good equipment to make a good new make spirit, and then put it in good wood.
Yeah.
And you should get some cracking, I'm going to say it, Scotch at the end of the day.
You might upset our fans, you know.
That's.
I noticed somebody saying there, a Scotsman on an Irish whiskey review, great. But whiskey's whiskey, isn't it?
Exactly. I think there's this awful sort of. I hate any sort of snobbery, really, if I'm totally honest.
Yeah.
And it's that. If you were saying there about the English whiskey, that you go to the English distilleries. We had the guy from the English Whiskey Society on there. They had their first English whiskey festival, because there is new whiskey distilleries out there. I've tasted a couple of them, not very many to my shame. I haven't been massively impressed, but there's more whiskey distilleries in England now. It's probably not dissimilar to the number that there is in Ireland.
So then let's be honest. Let's be honest, Marty. There's some dodgy Scotch and dodgy Irish out there as well.
Absolutely.
So anybody can make good whiskey, and some are making bad. But let's not be too snobbish about it.
No, the one thing that always grates people from Scotland is whenever you tell, where do you get your barley? And most of it comes from south of the border. Comes from England.
Well, I used to help buy the barley for Diageo, hundreds of thousands of tons every year, and this is a big secret. I don't know how many people are watching, but we try and keep this as a big secret, so don't tell anyone, will you?
No.
But some of the best barley that I used to use came from Norfolk and Yorkshire. Great barley.
Yeah.
And if you like your Lagavulins and your Kalila, boatloads of barley coming around from England onto Islay, and it's really good barley.
Yeah.
So I can only say that, Marty, because my wife's English, so I've got
you sort of get out of jail
in the camp, as it were.
I feel Justin's going to say something there. Justin's going to interject here at some point.
No, I wasn't going to say it. I wasn't going to say it. I better not say it. I don't want Facebook to ban us. He's the Nigel Farage of whiskey, then, isn't he? You know.
What, me?
Well, Nigel Farage's wife, or I think is maybe German. I could be wrong.
Oh, yes. I get it now.
Sorry. That was just my little joke. I don't want Nigel Farage to come after me, so we do apologise. But I think that's correct.
I was about to get offended there, Justin, if you were comparing me to Nigel Farage. No. Listen, we're getting. Look. There's one of the ones you've mentioned there tonight. Got lovely Glenmoray port cask finish for £22 last week. That's the sort of thing we like to hear. I mean, people think being interested in whiskies a bit like yachting and it costs a fortune, but it doesn't. No.
It doesn't really. Marty always sings the praises of the likes of Lidl and Aldi stuff, but
there's some great stuff there. And interesting that Colin from Ballindarloch there talking about Glenmoray. Irish whiskey will be getting a lot better in going forward, because you've now got one of the best Scottish distillers. You poached him. You took the manager from Glenmoray. One of my old school pals, Graham Cool, is now the manager at Dingle. He's
Dingle. Who released their...
So you've got one of the best Scottish distillers over in Southern Ireland now.
Yeah.
So hopefully Graham will start producing some excellent stuff there.
Have you ever been down to Dingle, down to the distillery? It's a beautiful little place. It's just the nicest little place, and the distillery. I mean, it's small, but what they make, a lot of it, cracking stuff, and it's a real success story, and good on them, you know. And Graham.
Well, it'll obviously get better now because it's got a Scotsman in charge.
Yeah, I'll let you in on a little secret. I mentioned at the start about the Belfast Whisky Festival, and after Paul O'Kane, who runs it. Paul O'Kane speaks with a very distinct Scottish accent.
Oh, good man.
He is a good man. He's a nice guy, he really is. So we'll try and get him on the show next week. So,
good.
But, the course that we run, the course I did was with the University of the Highlands and Islands. This is a correspondence course, and you still are the lecturer in it, or course tutor. Do you want to explain a little bit about that and what you do with the Edinburgh Whisky Academy? So if people...
Yeah, the UHI is a correspondence course, but they teach it very occasionally face-to-face. So I teach what you would have done online, Marty. I teach that. But I also teach at the Edinburgh Whisky Academy. And I teach the Diploma in Single Malt, which is a 2-day course, a very intensive course. But it's well worthwhile because it is the only whisky course in Scotland that's accredited by the SQA, so the Scottish Qualifications Authority, who do all the school and whatever courses. So it's a very rigorously accredited course, good quality. I would say that obviously because I'm the lecturer,
obviously,
but it gets audited every year. So that's a 2-day course, and it's held in a stately home near Edinburgh, a place called Arniston House. And it's just a fantastic setting. You've got this huge house and roaring fires and big portraits on the wall and all that. And we do the teaching there, and you get a visit around Glenkinchie as part of it, because being Diageo, I used to work there now and again. I get to take people around. And Edinburgh Whisky Academy is doing some other courses as well. Kirsty and Ian are doing a great job doing that. I also teach people doing their industry standard qualifications like GCD and IBD. But that's just freelance. So I love just, well, you can hear me now. I can speak for hours about whiskey, and I really enjoy it. So I love the teaching and just passing on that knowledge that I was fortunate enough to get with 23 years with Diageo and then 6.5 years on my own. So I love just talking whiskey. And we could go on till midnight, guys, if you wanted to, but I realise you can't.
We can.
So, I love just teaching and passing on my experience.
Can you do that correspondence course as far away as Canada? Does it work outside the UK and Ireland? Does it? Yeah.
Both of them do. I believe. I'm not so sure about the UHI now, but Edinburgh Whisky Academy definitely. And they're just about to put the diploma online. You can do a certificate online at the moment. But if anyone's interested, they should ask Kirsty or Ian at the Academy about the online diploma. I was down in Edinburgh recently for 3 days filming that. That was surreal. It's the first time I used that sort of, what's it called? You know, when it comes up on the screen? Teleprinter or whatever it is?
Auto cue.
That's the one. So it took me a wee while to get the hang of it. And so I was sitting for 3 days, looking at the camera and teaching that whiskey course. So it should be online very soon, the diploma, and that's going to be worldwide.
Okay. Now, I will just say, when I done the course from the University of the UHI, I got sent out. I think it was 12 miniatures, 10 or 12.
I think it was 8 at the time, Marty.
Possibly
8 miniatures and a couple of Gordon MacPhail glasses.
8 miniatures. So they were all connoisseur's choice. Gordon MacPhail, they were all decent aged whiskies, really good
whiskies.
And when you're sitting doing homework, and it's like, and my partner at the time said, "Are you drinking again tonight?" And I was like, "Hold on, I'm educating myself here. You know,
studying.
I'm studying. You know, don't interrupt me. It's a fabulous course, and it was an pleasure doing it. And I'll never forget you emailed me at the end, and you sent me out a couple of basically books on whiskey and PDF, and I greatly appreciated it. I genuinely
welcome.
And so if anyone wants to do any of the courses, go on to VC Services or the University of Highlands and Islands, and the Edinburgh Whisky Academy, and see whether you can do them, whatever you can do, and check it out. And I couldn't recommend it highly enough. That's the truth. So
no, it's good stuff. I would say that because I helped write a lot of the Edinburgh Whisky Academy stuff, so it's obviously good material. But you know, the thing about the Whisky Academy, it was written by people who worked in the industry but are now independent.
Yeah,
and I think that's extra special in that they've had the experience, but now they're not pushing one brand or another.
Yes.
So that's the kind of one of their unique selling points, and it's SQA accredited, so that's good.
Yeah. I could talk to you for hours, but I really could. I could. Thank you very much for giving us your time.
Hey, you're very welcome.
Tonight. Justin's normally telling me, right, it's time to cut before we get cut off.
No, I'll tell you why. It's because some social media networks only like you to do an hour.
Yes.
So when you repost to Instagram, you've got an hour. Facebook, you can do 8 hours. And I can tell you that normally, you know, we drop and gain listeners. We haven't lost any listeners tonight. At all. They've just stayed at the same level, if gone up as you've talked, Vic. So that
can't be too bad, eh?
That's not too bad. Lots of people saying it's a great show. Lots of people interested in the course as far away as Prince Edward Island. There, I've put the details on screen for that Edinburgh Whisky Academy course. There, it's been fabulous having you. And listen, if you're over here. We could do a socially distanced coffee in a park somewhere, just like, you know, the Macintosh man, you know, Macintosh man.
Have you not got a hip flask? No,
I probably do have a hip flask somewhere.
I'll take a hip flask over. Yeah,
I have many flasks. The people keep buying me for Christmas. And I'm thinking, I wonder if Marty's already got one of those. So I have about 10. I'll throw some Irish in for you and see if I can get you converted.
I'd love to try. Absolutely.
All right. So we'll leave it there. I think that'll do us. Should we do one last reminder of the competition, Marty? Shall we?
We shall. Special thanks to Vic for coming on. That's an absolute pleasure. The competition is anybody within UK and Ireland puts forward, comment, like and share at the bottom, and we will see about getting them sent out a sample of River Rock from those guys, from Mark Geary and the other guys. So environmentally friendly stuff and trying to do the right thing. So that's the competition.
All right. Good evening.
Stay safe, everybody.